we've been talking all day about children, and we've had a few, including Chichi Monet and some earlier, because they're from Philadelphia. But there's been a lot of adults talking about childhood obesity. So we're really delighted to have somebody here who can give us a very personal story about being overweight as a child. Hunter is just turned 17. He came down from Manhattan today, and he has lost 100 pounds. And so I just wanted to, there's a first of all, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And what were the, you can just put that away and don't worry.
Follow that, that's kind of fast to follow.
Yeah, but you're very kind to come. And first of all, how did you gain so much weight? What do you think were the causes?
First of all, thank you for having me. It is more than an honor to be here. A lot of things would play into it, and there's a reason we're all talking today. For me, at least, it was due to a lack of family structure. I had gone through a very messy divorce for the beginning of my adolescence, from about 13 years old.
Your parents?
My parents are very messy. It's that, which I know a lot of kids go through. And also, when I was younger, I had weight issues from before that, and self-esteem from that, from bullying. In addition, I was a nerd as well, and I still am. I build websites, I enjoy to learn, all that kind of stuff. That's usually not a successful mixture for being popular. And in the end, I gained a lot of weight. My self-esteem really dropped. My going to go home for structure there was non-existent.
And was the bullying due then kind of fed on itself? When you gained a lot of weight, then there was more bullying?
Gained a lot of weight, more bullying. My interests continued to be introverted, more bullying. Everything had really led to a massive vicious cycle. And it was to the point out of control. I had actually weighed 275 pounds at my entrance to MindStream on April 25th of 2012 last year. I had, weighed 275.
And MindStream Academy, talk a little bit about that.
MindStream Academy is a boarding school, therapeutic boarding school for health and wellness. The idea of the program is to focus on you as an individual. I had been to other programs where you're, for the years before, or it's just about lose weight in a boot camp style, kind of the traditional, this is what a weight loss program is, no food, tons of exercise, unhappy program, never successful, never focused on you, just was the group, that's it. At MindStream, it was completely about you. The main difference, I explained it as, it was the camps, it was 275, not who is Hunter. At MindStream, it's who is Hunter, not as who 275. Some of the programs they offered were...
So let's just talk generically about advice. You know, when you've lost this weight and you're feeling better about yourself, so good in fact that he wanted to come, and we're going to talk about that. But if you were talking to another 17-year-old who was trying to lose weight, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you say?
It's interesting because I actually have a friend back in New York who I'm helping this through. It's a sense you have to forget it's a struggle. I think of it, I used to wrestle, and I think of it like a game. If you continue to try to win the game, and you win usually means you go on to fight another battle, but if you try to lose the game, just get out of the problem, get rid of it, and let it be just part of your life. It makes it a lot easier. Instead of stressing out every decision and saying, oh my God, this is going to ruin me, and just saying, you know what, we have special occasions, we have special days, and letting the guilt just go off.
So when you ate, all right, so talk about that. First of all, what was it that caused you to gain all that weight? Was it,
like I said, the
soda?
Overeating.
Was it what kinds of things?
Oh, I was a big fan of eating out. There were times where, I would order Chinese food and pizza and a meatball sub, finish it in a night. I just was unable to process it. I was so not focused on weight, I just could not understand.
And do you think it was the stress that you were talking about?
Yes, exactly. It was that stress. It was that bullying. It was that labels, that everything that just could not accept. So the weight issue and all that just fell right off and said, it's not important, when really it was the most important.
And so then if you're talking to your friend in New York who's struggling with weight, what do you tell them to focus on?
Like I said, just don't worry about it. It's the basic idea. We all think of these weight issues and all these issues in today, like the IRS tax book, and it's so complicated, so many things, but with weight loss and control and loss, it's just burn more than you're eating. It's that simple. Don't try to complicate it, and it will not make it a lot harder.
And what do you do to burn more than you eat?
For me, I actually enjoy spin a lot. It's a place near my house. I've been through a couple of knee injuries and this, and a lot of things.
So you go spinning?
I go spinning at a different place just near my house. They have a monthly program. I go in. It's reasonable cost. It's an effective. Like also, I'm making friends through there. People who are my age or older or whatever going too. But that idea of not having to go in and set up structure, say I'm going to do it for myself, see where it leads me. And in addition, I always with the food. I don't have to keep. I understand we talk about food journals and all these different tracking. Personally, what I learned at MindStream and in life was that if you just focus on what types of food you eat, carbs do this, proteins, vegetables, fruit, they just do this, and just try to say, what's the ratios, you can figure it out for the most part. I mean, obviously there are situations you have to look, but if you get a handle on what you're doing on a daily basis, get a routine down, it makes it so you don't have to be stressful and just dwell on it.
When we were talking earlier, you mentioned a couple times this lonely feeling you had that you thought contributed to the weight gain. Can you talk about that? Because that comes up a lot. And you were saying in your spinning class now you feel connected, more connected, with the community kind of doing this.
And that is exactly, when I was younger I used to wrestle, and the idea that was a discipline, and it was kind of discipline and a team mentality where you all the time you were being supported. But as things had fell apart with the supports and with home, it all got lost throughout my life and what I was forgetting. And during the years and the time when I was wrestling, I was actually keeping my weight moderately stable, and that because I was just focused on being successful for the team. But when I lost that sense of community and became introverted more and lonely and just, in a sense, just lost from what is my kind of purpose.
And you were saying, you build apps, you're pretty good with computers?
Yes. Like I said earlier, I do that kind of stuff. It's what interests me, and it used to be a shame, but now it's not. It's what I do. I mean, why should I have to hide it?
Well, it's fantastic. No, but it's interesting. A lot of that is work by yourself with the computer, but then you've added this other piece on where you actually do get out in the community, talk to others, exercise.
And that's the key, is that you can, as I was thinking, part of the problem is the idea of families being so work-based. When you go home, people's workday just starts. And the idea that your parents can tell you to go outside and play, and you'll do that, but then you realize, oh wait, they're still inside working, so why do I have to go out and not listen to them in that sense of a role model? So that idea, like, I'm not advocating against technology. Like I said, I use it and want to make a career out of it, but the idea that you spend time with your kids or whatever, or your peers or anything, and go outside and maybe instead of being alone in your room, do it together or outside or that kind of stuff. It makes it so, again, also food doesn't become a problem. It doesn't become your friend. Food doesn't become a friend or foe, just a part of life. Again, going back to that simplistic view, which is the easiest recipe for success.
And why did you decide to take the train down and come to Manhattan and tell people about this?
Because I had the opportunity. I have met a lot of people actually who have gone through the same the same processes, be it to higher or different degrees, and I hear very little. Most of them are scared to just go out and tell their story because of fear of bullying and that. And at least what I learned in MindStream is how to deal with that, how to just say, brush it off and saying, this is about me going out to help others. So I came down and saying, you know what, I have to be, someone has to do it, and I want to be that person because I have the opportunity, why let it pass me? It's got to be it's got to be a mission that has to be accomplished. We have to work together on this, all walks of life.
And do you think Instagram and Facebook and all the constant photographing of young people and image, instantly, wherever you are, you see your picture, does that have any impact on you or your friends?
I can't speak from experience there. I was never once for sharing photos, but I would be more text-based. At least I know, I hear people who are older than me and talk to them 10 years ago, whatever, they didn't have their whole life being followed. Once they were home, they're home. But now, I mean, when I'm online and people can see my every move on social media, it makes it a lot scarier. You realize you're being judged every second, even when you don't think you are. And having that be a constant worry, again, adds that stress and adds another thing on top of the list that easily becomes unmanageable.
So there's a lot of stress on kids, is your point.
Yeah.
And that sometimes food becomes something that eases that. And it shouldn't. It
less of eases it, as more I found from also talking to friends as well, as a friend or foe. You either think of food is your best friend, or you think of it, I hate food, but you have a relationship with it regardless. When you forget about it as a friend or foe, and you think about it, it's one of the 3 things I need for sustainability: food, shelter, water. It doesn't become a problem. It's manageable.
Do you like to cook?
Yes, I taught myself to cook when I was younger.
When you were younger?
When I was alone.
How young were you?
I don't really remember, just as long as I can remember. I was, like I said, I was alone, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to teach myself. It's one of those, again, that nerd aspect, quest for learning.
Good for you.
Thank you. And with that, I learned what I cook doesn't have to be unhealthy to be delicious. As it was highlighted many times, I can make a grilled chicken or whatever and brown rice and, or quinoa or whatever, and it'd be delicious and be better than going out to get a burger or a slice of pizza, even though pizza's very good in New York. It can still be better. Also, I take more pride that I'm eating what I cooked. And that was another thing with families, is that food has become eat in front of the television, doing homework, and food all at once. When I remember there were times that sadly I didn't really get to experience, but there were others who told me it was a process. It was cooking, getting ready, setting the table, all that, and then enjoying it together, letting the meal be more about the people than the food. Again, lessening your relationship with it and just being it.
You were here all morning, which I was grateful that you came down. Was there anything that you heard that made sense to you? You thought, oh, that's dead right, or like what? Anything from your point of view, who's gone through this, that didn't ring true?
There were two things, actually, one on each. There was one side where I believe it was the mayor of Oxford in North Carolina. It was just a comment, like in joke, about a competition. Oh, what is South Carolina doing? And well, MindStream's in South Carolina, so bring it on. But more importantly, that idea of competition just struck a bell with me. The idea that it may not have to be a win or lose situation, but the idea that you all, like I did in wrestling, rely on each other to keep each other going, be it using then social media or whatever to your advantage. Saying, I did this today, what are you going to do? And never being a win, lose, money, whatever.
Like with your friends?
Yes.
Hey, I did an hour of spinning, what did you do? That kind of
That kind of dynamic makes it, again, more social, less work, exercise, more competition, social. I'm competitive, I've done a lot of sports and stuff, and I like to win, but being able also to say, doing it together, but not against each other, but also with each other.
And community. So those things really kind of work. That's great.
Right, it's really something I've seen.
Hunter has said he would take a couple questions if anybody has a couple questions. We'll get a mic over there.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
my name is good, thank you. My name is Melissa. I work for Teneo Holdings, which is a consulting firm. Our office does more government affairs. And I'm new to the childhood obesity realm, just recently. This is only my second event on this. And at lunch, I was actually talking to a few women saying how shocked I am that no one has brought up mental health until you did, which I think is really important. Because, I hear a lot of, the terms, you eat your feelings, and I feel like this is the case at any age, whether you're dealing with divorce, whether you're dealing with bullying, stress from, academics. What do you think that public schools can do? I know you talked about boarding school program, but what can public schools do that won't affect the finances of parents that could help bring this mental health to light, and whether it's more guidance counseling services, what can we do?
Any thoughts?
In a way, it rings true because I am dealing with certain issues that are mental health issues, and I find that people have a stigma. I personally don't look at it that way, but I know more people than not who look at it as, oh my God, I'm going into the counseling office. It's a huge stigma. It's a huge embarrassment. While I understand people saying what is the most cost effective, in the end, the most cost-effective was, instead of saying, how can we bring it to the kids, it's how can we get the public to look at it as not an issue, but just a fact of life. People are born with certain genetics that say, this is what you're going to deal with, or brain chemistry or whatever that I'm not understanding, but I'm not trained to know. But the idea that we just make it less of an issue, more of a part of life. We all have something, so why should
And do you feel like a lot of your friends, stress keeps coming up in the fanciest schools and in every kind of school, right? High school is a particularly stressful time. Do your friends talk about it, how stressful it is, and how some are bulimic and some are overeating, and it does come out.
In a way, once I approached it started, my kind of style is, if I'm going to talk about certain things, I have opinions, I have things I want to talk about. I'm not going to say, oh, it's embarrassing to talk about this, why I shouldn't.
Right.
There's obviously limits, but the idea that if it's something I see you're being bothered and I see that body language, I'm going to ask what's going on, not say, oh, it's not my business.
And just the last thing, what is your thinking about how you're going to keep the weight off? What's your...
Keep it simple. Just kiss, keep it simple. Yeah.
Oh, kiss. Oh, I like it. And by keep it simple, what does that mean?
Remember that it's just burn more than you take in, or stay in the same area. At least with me, I had actually left MindStream at 160 pounds, which is much less than I wanted to leave at. But I worked with them, and I made a healthy weight, so I'm about 200 now, but also because it's healthy, I'm continually working out and lifting and bulking in percent because of athletics. I love to play baseball. I actually want to go in to play D1 baseball, but just knowing the way I am, it's easy. It's also my family has a heavier, more heavier weight, just as common. That where I am now, it's not about the number. Okay, the number may look bad, but if I am still in a healthy body type and everything, it doesn't matter.
So you're going to keep it simple. You're going to join this baseball team because of the community part of it, and keep exercising.
And just keep it. Remember, it's not a fault.
Right. And it's something that is winnable.
It is something winnable. I mean, winnable if you forget about it. Like I said, with like
don't obsess about it.
Don't obsess.
Don't obsess about it. Well, thank you very, very much. Thanks for coming down, and I appreciate it.